Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first edition of the Tyler Werner Show since Chip Kelly's firing just hours ago on this December 29th of 2015. As Chip Kelly has been fired by Jeffrey Lurie, much to the surprise of many Philadelphia Eagles fans, including myself, at least right now at this time. And I think just after this season in general, or before the season is even over, technically, as we still got obviously another meaningless football game once again to close out the NFL season for the Eagles with the New York Giants up at the Meadowlands this week. You know, another pointless game coming off of a colossal disappointment of a home game for the Philadelphia Eagles against the Washington Redskins this past week. And, you know, I mean, this edition of the Tyler Werner Show was supposed to initially be about that in the end of the season. And, you know, again, what a disappointment of a season this has been. A colossal disappointment for me and for pretty much any other Eagles fan out there. And that game against the Washington Redskins, I mean, that was kind of just just kind of another summing up of the many problems that Chip Kelly has had here this season, especially this season. And just, you know, countless issues and malpractice. And I mean, this edition of the Tyler Werner Show, essentially, I mean, kind of flipped and did a 180, at least is what it was initially going to be about. And I mean, now, I mean, this game against the New York Giants, obviously water under the bridge. And, you know, it's a game where, now, if the Eagles lose, they'll be third in the NFC. They'll finish third in the NFC East this year, which means that next season, they will play a game in London, as a matter of fact.
Oh no!
And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if some people are a fan of that or not. I mean, I don't know. It might be one of these things where you got to get up at 9 a.m. to watch, you know, tune into an Eagles game or something. But I mean, so be it. Because we all know, if you're listening to the press conference, another, you know, and pretty much, I guess the last press conference we will hear out of Chip Kelly of just his meaningless dribble and, you know.
Was that like a wise ass comment?
Just sticking it to the media and basically giving a finger to the fan base that would like an explanation as to just, you know, what in the heck has been going on with this franchise that he's been basically given full control over for the most part, as far as personnel decisions and this and that, and which he kind of denied in this press conference, that he had, you know, contract negotiations, this and that. But, you know, and all, I mean, it's just another, you know, continued, I guess, confusion that we've had as far, you know, it's like there was a disconnect between him and the fan base. There was always a disconnect. And I'm not gonna miss him. I'm, you know, this is one of these. I'm feeling pretty good right now. I mean, again, this was supposed to be about how, you know, this show was supposed to be about how basically this Washington Redskins game, and now I feel like I'm already moved on from it with this firing of Chip Kelly, because many people, including myself, I said it about a month ago. I'm mentally done with Chip Kelly. There was that Adam Schefter report that came out that both sides were growing tired of each other, as in the Eagles fan base, Schefter meant, and Chip Kelly. And, you know, again, I've been through all that discussion at that time. And I mean, at that point, I was done. I'm just like, you know what? I wish he could be traded to Tennessee, maybe to reunite him if he wants to be in the NFL. But the bottom line is, I didn't, you know, the bottom line is I was done with Chip Kelly. I had no more faith in Chip Kelly, and surely enough, there was that, I guess, that miraculous revival of the season up in New England. For whatever reason, the Eagles, maybe catching Tom Brady and certainly Bill Belichick on not their best days, and obviously missing some key personnel in that game. And the Eagles had a miraculous revival of the season, and then they beat the Buffalo Bills the next week in a competitive matchup. And yeah, that was pretty much it. That was pretty much all she wrote for the Philadelphia Eagles season, essentially. Because then, of course, they go on to get their doors blown off by the Arizona Cardinals next week. So, ironically enough, I mean, I've said plenty about LaShawn McCoy, but ironically enough, Chip Kelly's last win here, coaching the Philadelphia Eagles, was against LaShawn McCoy and the Buffalo Bills, ironically enough. And that's pretty much a wrap for Chip Kelly's career here for the Philadelphia Eagles. And mathematically eliminated after the Washington Redskins game, and then Chip Kelly has his press conference the next day after. It's just a disappointing loss where there's no excuse for you to call a pitch play to the outside for DeMarco Murray when he was running effectively between the tackles, and after the rain's coming down and you just saw Darren Sproles muff a punt and you just saw Sam Bradford having trouble holding on the ball, what does Chip Kelly do? Oh, we'll run it. We'll do a pitch play out to DeMarco Murray. Like, are you kidding me? So, you just saw a team, again, just a team that, after going down the field and getting a touchdown on the first drive of the game, you just saw a team that, fell apart and just wasn't mentally there, wasn't schematically there, whatever. They had chances. I mean, you had Kirk Cousins have, one of the biggest brain farts you could ever have in an NFL football game, or in any football game for that matter. And with 6 seconds left, instead of, I guess, trying to spike the ball and run a couple seconds off the clock, take a knee. And I guess continue to allow the clock run, and he was still holding to the football, and the clock ran out, certainly. And that big drive that they had going essentially was for nothing. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter. Because despite a perfect opportunity for the Philadelphia Eagles to get in the game, to kind of maybe build off of that, look at this. We can't lose to this team now. Well, what? The second half, they pretty much fall apart furthermore. That's pretty much that. And their last chance, essentially, again, was that fumble by DeMarco Murray, picked up by DeAngelo Hall for the Redskins and taken in the end zone. Pretty much season over. Oh, and by the way, with 7-some minutes left in the fourth quarter, you're down by 21. And instinctually, fourth down, Chip Kelly brings the punt unit out. You're trying to keep a season alive, and you just cower. You don't go for it. I mean, seriously.
What's the matter with you?
It's malpractice at its worst there. But, again, essentially, we can say goodbye to Chip Kelly now. We can say goodbye to this malpractice and look forward to the future. To the hiring of a new head coach. Again, several weeks ago, when this season just looked like it had gone down the tubes, I mean, after the Tampa Bay game, I mean, it just looks like this whole thing was off the rails. And furthermore, we saw what happened in Detroit on Thanksgiving. And at that point, I mean, I basically said it. I mean, I'd like for, Chip Kelly to not be here next year coaching this football team. But again, I said, unfortunately, I mean, there's still a couple games left on the schedule that, that they were going to have a chance to win. And, like the Washington one. Although then Washington's been good down the stretch. But at that time, Washington wasn't looking so good. And, Buffalo, it was another one where maybe they had a chance between the Patriots and the Cardinals games that they were going to lose. But obviously, of course, they didn't lose the Patriots game. They have a chance against them. And the Giants, too, the end of the season, a chance there as well. So it was one of these things where, unfortunately, the Eagles, they may finish 6-10, but at the end of the day, I was saying it, Jeffrey Lurie's not going to fire him. He's still got 3 years left on his contract. He's going to say, oh, well, Chip needed more time for his, for these personnel moves to gel better and this and that. But no, here we sit. Apparently, Jeffrey Lurie's had enough. Apparently, a lot of this Eagles team has had enough. Quite frankly, I know most of us fans after the season, we're not going to miss him. We're glad he's gone. And if there's anybody who's disappointed that he's been fired, please share your thoughts right here on the Tyler Werner Show Facebook page at facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show, or on this video on YouTube or anywhere on the YouTube channel, and share your thoughts, because clearly you're in a minority, and despite that, I'd love to hear from you. But again, I'm glad, and I think I said after after the loss of the Cardinals, I said if they lose to the Redskins, I mean, I'm in off-season mode already. And so now I'm even more in off-season mode. Because it's a year where we're going to get a new head coach. Now, again, Jeffrey Lurie, I mean, I was shocked that this news broke tonight. I mean, I was shocked, to say the least. I mean, now, Jeffrey Lurie, again, I've been hard on him this past year because I didn't understand why he gave Chip Kelly all this power in the first place. And now it's like, after one season, it's like he's pulling back on it. It's like Jeffrey Lurie, I guess, put out his own fire in a sense. I guess we'll put it that way. All right, he put out a fire he started before it got even worse, perhaps. So I'll give him that. I'll give him that. Unlike with Andy Reid, where maybe it was a little late. They were a little late to he's a little late to moving on from Andy Reid. I'll give him that. This time around, Jeffrey Lurie, he, I guess he had a bit more of a set, we'll say, this time around.
To me, those balls are perfect.
As far as getting rid of, giving Chip Kelly the hook now. I mean, we'll see where Chip Kelly ends up as far as making a new salary and everything. But again, I mean, that's Jeffrey Lurie's concern as far as him having to pay Chip Kelly whatever money he's owed and whatever. At the end of the day, I'm pleasantly surprised here that Jeffrey Lurie did this tonight. And again, I mean, this game means nothing against the Giants, obviously. Hopefully they lose, but at the very least, I mean, it kind of puts the whole locker room on notice. Like, all right, we're moving on. Who wants a job here next year? As far as guys, guys that might be cut next year or whatever else. Now, shortly after the release, because it was quoted that Chip Kelly was released from the Philadelphia Eagles. So just go ahead and say it. He was fired, okay?
Get out! Get out!
It's just a more, I don't know, generous way of saying he was fired. Jeffrey Lurie released a statement on why the move was made. I mean, it's easy for us to sit here and point out various reasons. And, here in the Tyler Werner Show, I have been pointing out various reasons throughout the season as how Chip Kelly wasn't cutting and how I ultimately came to the consensus in my head that I don't want Chip Kelly here anymore, and I hope he gets fired, even though it wasn't likely. But here's Jeffrey Lurie's, letter. His statement as to his firing of Chip Kelly this evening. And it starts out like this. I have made a decision to release Chip Kelly this evening. I spent the last 3 seasons evaluating the many factors involved in our performance as a team. As I watched this season unfold, I determined that it was time to make a change. As we move forward, the search for a new head coach will begin and will be led by myself, Don Smolensky, and Howie Roseman. To the extent that we are able, we will try to keep you informed as we go through this process. Pat Shurmur will be our interim head coach for the Giants game Sunday. We have also released Ed Manowitz, Vice President of Player Personnel. Tom Donahoe, who has been our senior football advisor since 2012, will assume the role of Senior Director of Player Personnel. I am determined and excited to select a new coach to help us obtain our ultimate goal. Thank you for your consistent and enthusiastic support. It is always appreciated. Sincerely, Jeffrey Lurie, Chairman and CEO. And furthermore, Lurie is set to meet with the media this Wednesday at noon to further explain the decision. And I'm sure we will have some thoughts after that takes place to toss around here on the Tyler Werner Show. So there you go. Obviously, Chip Kelly fired. And of course, as mentioned in the middle of that, Don Smolensky and Howie Roseman, who again was kind of, had to defer to Chip Kelly having general manager power. I don't care what Chip said in his press conference yesterday or whatever about how that was. He had all the power, pretty much, as far as picking players. So it looks like Howie Roseman, who, again, I thought maybe there should have been a bit more of a collaboration between him and Chip. Howie Roseman's not going anywhere. Maybe it looks like he'll, kind of reassume his position as general manager as he had prior to having to defer to Chip Kelly, basically. So, that's fine. I mean, I didn't have too much of a problem with Howie Roseman. I mean, again, this colossal disappointment of a season is all on Chip. And, again, part of that was Jeffrey Lurie's decision to allow Chip all this power, but Chip failed miserably this season. So, yeah, Pat Shurmur will be our interim head coach. For, that's water on the bridge. Pat Shurmur, I haven't been too high on, especially after, if you listen to the Tyler Werner Show last week and how he basically rehashed in like carbon copy form the reason why DeMarco Murray got 2 carries all of last game and, whatever. But, I don't care for Pat Shurmur being around here, but Ed Manowitz, of course, who was hired as the vice president of player personnel this offseason, and who, when Andy Reid was in town last offseason, said this about him.
Just sharp guy.
And he's been zipped along with Chip. It was Chip Kelly's, I guess, right-hand man as far as that goes. At the end of the day, I don't really know how much of a hand he had in any of it when, again, it was pretty much everything went through Chip as far as picking players and everything. So, again, I don't even know what he really had to do. But the bottom line, he was kind of, a Chip guy there in the front office, or whatever. So, not a shocker there. Chip fired and his player personnel, Ed Manowitz, fired. So, again, where does this leave the roster? Of course, one of the topics of conversation as of late has been Sam Bradford. Is he going to stick around? He's improved in recent weeks, obviously, his play. Although, again, some of his limitations, that intentional grounding play against the Redskins this past week, it was just like he was like rolling out and he sees a defender coming right at him, and just the poor offensive line play that has been detrimental this season. And, Jason Peters, taking himself out of the game, I guess, and who only got into the Pro Bowl this season strictly by name, being a household name, I guess. He shouldn't have been named to the Pro Bowl as far as I'm concerned, and he's pretty much done. He might as well retire at this point. Thank you for your services through the years, Jason, but it looks like it's time to move on from Jason Peters. And I don't know, maybe it's been an injury-ridden season for him, and I don't know. Maybe it's time for him to hang him up, I guess, if I could use that cliche. But again, I'm watching that play, that intentional. It's like Sam doesn't want to get hit. He's taken behind this offensive line. It's just like, oh my God, because he doesn't have the mobility to get out of the trepidatious situation there, and it's just like, I'm just going to throw the ball on the ground. I don't want to get nailed again. So, again, I've continued to say, step one, improve the offensive line this season. Whoever's going to be our new head coach, that's a given. And I don't know what Chip Kelly would have done had he not been fired. I don't know what he would have done this offseason, but regardless, the offensive line clearly needs fixing. And, that's whether or not Sam Bradford plays here or not. But, again, with a new head coach, it's like a new head coach coming in here, a new offensive system. I don't know. Again, I'm not necessarily in favor of Sam Bradford being here again. Unless he's going to be playing behind a great offensive line, and unless he's going to have receiving help, I just almost feel bad for Sam Bradford playing here. Again, he's injury prone as well, and he held up pretty well this season. I'll give him that. He didn't miss 4 games, perhaps, like I thought he would. He only missed a couple. But still, at the end of the day, I think there's, that mobility factor in this day and age in the NFL is pretty necessary, unless you're Tom Brady or, a very select few, unless you're one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. Like that. I mean, and even Brady, he has a little more pocket mobility than at least Bradford does. I mean, Bradford, I don't know. I mean, he's been stepping up in the pocket in recent weeks, but, I don't know. I mean, Sam can do what he wants. He can probably play for a better situation this year. Again, whoever our next coach is, I don't know what they do this offseason. Who they acquire, but obviously the offensive line needs a reboot and has several holes now. And the receiving core is obviously very lackluster. I don't know what Nelson Aguilar is going to be, but I don't sense that he's going to be anything special. And you got, freaking Frack on the outside, either side, this season. I mean, obvious fixes there. Jordan Matthews is solid. I don't, nothing to write home about or whatever, but, you can go forward with him. And Zach Ertz, obviously, who's been a key target for Sam Brady, hold on to him as well. The running game, again, and I'm pretty sure this is one of the things that was factored in the equation here of Jeffrey Lurie. Watching the league leading rusher of last season, who was brought here for $8 million, $40 million total guaranteed or whatever, and he's watching him up in the press box, and getting 2 or 3 carries, whatever it was last week, all game. I mean, there's no explanation for that whatsoever.
I just think somebody owes us an explanation, that's all.
No excuse. And again, you improve the offensive line, which Chip Kelly made worse this past season by, getting rid of Evan Mathis and not filling any of the other needs on the offensive line. Because, Harriman's, I could understand moving on from him. I don't care about that whole, going back to the whole Todd Harriman's, Trent Cole, and LaShawn McCoy picture, and it's like, the rejects of, it's like, okay, well, Trent Cole and Harriman's are both washed up anyways. The point is, you gotta refilter. It's like with the Phillies the past several years. They didn't refilter guys who were turning into washed up, guys in their mid to late 30s. That's what you got to be able to do. And, again, it goes to the whole thing with cutting Deshaun Jackson. Yeah, but who did you get in return? You haven't been able to replace him with another deep threat wide receiver or anybody of that caliber. So you lost Macklin. Didn't really replace him this offseason at all. Now, I don't know if the intention was Nelson Aguilar to be but he doesn't look like he's going to be even a Jeremy Macklin. And not to say Jeremy Macklin is Jerry Rice or Terrell Owens or Randy Moss, that he's on that level even. So, Chip Kelly failed at refiltering positions that need to be filtered. But again, you fix this offensive line. You got DeMarco Murray, who had minus 200 carries this season. Obviously, not counting whatever's going to happen in this meaningless Giants game this week. But again, DeMarco Murray, he's seen a lot less action this year than he did last season. So, not that anything's going to be, not that this Eagles team is going to be expected to win anything next year, substantial or anything, but you got DeMarco Murray in your roster making the amount of money he's made. He's expected to be used significantly, and he hasn't been. And again, when oftentimes he is being used on these outside run plays because your offensive line can't open up holes in the inside, which, DeMarco Murray is one of the best running backs at hitting the holes. Hint, hint, why he led the league in rushing last season. When you have a guy, and you're using him in the wrong way, and you're not using him nearly as much as to what you're paying him for, you've got a problem. And that's malpractice. And whoever the next coach is that comes, it's just common sense. You look at him, all right, well, obviously, he should be playing a significant role on our team, and we should be using him to his strengths. And Chip Kelly wasn't doing that. So, and it really, the last couple games, too, Ryan Matthews, has looked like a stiff out there, as it is. And Sproles hasn't been doing much in the running game either. So, again, whether it's the offensive line or whether you're running the same 2 or 3 running plays, for crying out loud. Oftentimes I feel like I was just watching the same, I was watching a replay of an offensive play, on the previous drive, on the previous 3 and out of the many 3 and outs that this team has put the fan base through this past season. It's just, again, on offense, it's just a lot of common sense here. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see what is wrong with this team on offense, especially. Again, they may need to go out and get a quarterback, and I don't know. It may help if the Eagles, it may make a significant difference in this year's draft if the Eagles lose this game. The Eagles win this game, they move to 7-9, whoop-de-doo. They're looking at somewhere in the middle of the, 12 to 16 as far as draft picks. They lose, they fall to 6-10. We're talking about maybe they pick 8th, maybe they pick 6th. 6th at best, and that's not too bad. So I don't know. The quarterback situation obviously remains to be seen. But obviously step one, get the new coach. And obviously we know what the holes are in offense. Defense, well, first of all, maybe whoever's playing defense here and is going to be playing defense for this Eagles team, they might be able to take a deep breath right now.
5 letters here.
Because
RELAX.
Now,
relax. We're going to be okay.
This up-tempo system of Chip Kelly is gone. And I've said it's like a double-edged sword. And this season, it's been mostly the bad edge of the double-edged sword, the bad side, where this Eagles team has been going 3 and out, and 3 and out, and 3 and out, and just too much of that. And having to bring this Eagles defense right back on the field. And I think it's easy to say, it's easy to see and say that in recent weeks, this Eagles defense has declined. Second half of the season. And a lot of it has to do with they're just worn out. And this offense, again, that hasn't been productive, hasn't been controlling the game whatsoever for the most part. They've put more pressure on the defense. guys getting banged up on the defense and just not lasting. And that's pretty much the story of it. And these aren't old guys in their 30s, with the exception of maybe like one, like D'Amico Ryans, but still a formidable player. I don't know how much he has left in the tank, but this is still a fairly young defense. But it's been getting ground out. So again, and depending who they, my perhaps number one coaching choice, who's going to be sought after this offseason for a head coaching position, if he so wants to, is none other than Sean McDermott, defensive coordinator of the Carolina Panthers. He's done a pretty darn good job helping build that defense in recent years for the Carolina Panthers. And, obviously he was a former defensive coordinator here for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know if he was totally given a fair shake after Andy Reid kind of had full, he kind of assumed general manager, as far as personnel and everything. And I don't know if, he did the best job in getting defensive personnel here, but nevertheless, it didn't work out for, and Sean McDermott was fired, and they brought Juan Castillo on board, and we saw that didn't really work out. Or they moved Juan Castillo from offensive line coach or whatever to defensive coordinator, and that kind of backfired. And then they had Todd Bowles, but hey, he's out. He was coaching the Cardinals, and now he's coaching the Jets. Well, I guess he was coordinating at the Cardinals and coaching the Jets, and the Jets are doing pretty good this season. But the point is, Sean McDermott, he has done a pretty darn good job as defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. Maybe, forget going college as far as picking, a college coach with no NFL experience. I think maybe now is going to maybe pick an up-and-coming head coaching candidate like Sean McDermott, I think, who has a good track record of being defensive coordinator. Maybe, a defensive-minded head coach here for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I agree.
Maybe this hybrid 3-4 that Billy Davis and, Chip, I guess, to whatever extent, having defense, maybe go back to the 4-3. Linebacking, I feel, is what was supposed to be a pretty solid rotation for the Eagles is kind of just now narrowed down to Connor Barwin and Jordan Hicks had, obviously he had a pretty impressive rookie season. He showed some playmaking, but other than that, again, D'Amico Ryans, it looks like he's finished. I don't know how much left he has in the tank. He was pretty solid, give him that, but his time in this league might be at an end. Kiko Alonso. This guy is not the same anymore.
Get out! Get out!
He's not the, kind of balls to the wall, if that makes any sense, linebacker that he was in his rookie season. And he got, obviously he missed last season pretty much, and this season he got banged up again. And it's like he's just going through the motions. It's like he doesn't want to get hurt out there. And of course he had the concussion issue in preseason, and I think he's at a point now where he's out there playing, but he doesn't want to get hurt. His style of play he was getting injury prone, and it's just, it's a shame. He just doesn't have the same spark that he did. I mean, it's sad. Probably the one play he made all season was in that Atlanta Falcons game, week 1. That nice interception. That was pretty much it. I can't think of anything else he's done all season long. Any play he's made all season long other than that. And they still lost that game anyways. I mean, Michael Kendricks, he wanted, he was holding out this season and everything, and he wanted to get paid, and this.
He wants your money.
And what does he had to show for it this season? He wasn't the same this season. So you got Jordan Hicks, the rookie. Fortunately, he went down mid-season. I know that was a pretty big loss. He was doing a good job. He was playing above his head. And Connor Barwin, he wasn't what he was last season. He had a down year. I guess, again, more was expected out of this defense this year because the offense was less effective and productive as last season. But, obviously, Connor Barwin at the end of the day, he should be on this team, obviously. He wasn't second in the league in sacks or whatever like he was last season. I got that. But he still can make plays and get to the quarterback. And, again, I just feel this Eagles defense got ground out over the long run. And while year 1 of the Chip Kelly era, when the Eagles offense was more productive, while maybe the defense didn't have as much pressure put on them, and maybe they were able to hold up pretty well throughout the season as the team did in general, last season, and especially this season, they got ground out in the long run, and they fizzled. You saw it. So, as far as the linebackers go, that's that. In the secondary, Malcolm Jenkins, keeper. More worthy of a Pro Bowl spot as far as the Eagles go than Jason Peters was this year. But then again, there's other safeties in the NFC that, you can put ahead of Malcolm Jenkins, but still, Jenkins is a keeper. Walter Thurman was, it's pretty, decent, I guess. And then you got obviously they're kind of hitched to Byron Maxwell here for a decent amount of money. But again, he was overpaid, obviously. The Eagles were desperate for a cornerback. He was overvalued and paid as a shutdown cornerback, even though he's not one. He can be a good one, but again, yeah, he's going to get. Unfortunately, he's going to make more money than he should. But again, maybe you get a better program in here, as defensively, the head coach, like maybe Sean McDermott or other possible guys out there in the market, and again, maybe an offense that isn't going to go 3 and out as much and faster than anybody else in the league, like this Eagles team has been going this past season. And maybe, that puts less pressure on the defense in general. Maybe they get a boost from whoever else this new head coach is. I don't know. Maybe it's not a defensive-minded head coach, but just, not going to throw out, that possibility. And maybe in general this defense is better. But again, maybe Byron Maxwell maybe comes a little bit more into form here as an Eagle playing defense than he did this year. Then you got the rookie Eric Rowe, who was put in some pretty difficult situations this year. Nolan Carroll, of course, went down for the season. So, I mean, there can be some improvement out of those guys, but we'll see how it pans out. I don't know what other moves might be made in the offseason, whether it be in free agency, whether it be through the draft. That remains to be seen. But there's still some contracts that the Eagles team are bound to, like DeMarco Murray, like Byron Maxwell, and they're just going to have to do whoever this new head coach is, they're just going to have to do their best to make it work. And it helps to helps make it work with DeMarco Murray when you try to play to his strengths and use the guy, okay? If he's making $8 million. Finally, on defense, defensive line. I mean, Fletcher Cox, Pro Bowler, obviously, I guess you could say the best player on the Philadelphia Eagles right now. Came into his own this season and had a Pro Bowl season. Good for him, and that's great. But as far as the front seven goes, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Benny Logan was, decent. I don't know. I mean, I felt like they fizzled overall on defense throughout the season, and maybe not so much Fletcher Cox, but Benny Logan, Vinny Curry, Brandon Graham. I mean, those guys they kind of fizzled for sure. And Brandon Graham and his I'm going to get 32 sacks this year and not even come. I mean, mediocre.
Mediocre?
Yes, I just happened to lay eyes on that sound. My eyes just found that soundbite right as I was saying that. So, I mean, we'll see what moves are made, but I mean, again, who's to say the Eagles' next head coach? I mean, who's to say their next program, say it's defensive minded, and who's to say overall they don't get better? I don't know. Who's to say they don't build a new foundation for which they kind of harvest new, like we've seen him with Seattle the past several, and they kind of just they pluck guys at latter parts in the draft, like guys like Cam Chancellor, and just help build a legion of boom defense like that. With guys late in the draft like that, I mean, who's to say? Because I'll tell you what, Chip Kelly surely wasn't, he surely wasn't finding those guys. He wasn't even in the first and second round. He was having, that always goes back to that Marcus Smith pick, who I believe, did he actually have a half sack this year? I don't know. I think he. Oh my God! There may have been he may have had half a sack to his name this year. I don't know, but it's just amazing how I kind of forget about him. I kind of forget he's on this team, and yet he was the other year ago he was the Eagles' first pick of the draft. So I mean that pretty much sums it all up for right now. Again, we'll see. I mean, is anybody going to be watching the game this Sunday with the Philadelphia Eagles against the New York Giants? If you are, you're probably watching it to lose. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see what Pat Shurmur, see what he, if he stirs up this locker room, this, I don't know. Like I guess Chip Kelly was hoping to, to, go up and get this win and everything. And it's like, please. You were expected to win this division, and even though the Redskins basically only need 8 wins to win it this year, and you still can't win this division. I mean, don't even start, Chip. But again, he's gone, so we don't have to worry about that. But it's just, had he not been fired, it's like I'd be sitting here talking about, just please, just shut up with the whole, we have a game to win this weekend against the Giants, and give me a break. Again, it's like, happy he's gone at this point. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's hallelujahs going all throughout the Delaware Valley after this firing of Chip Kelly. It's kind of just like a weight just kind of lifted off of our shoulders, I mean, at least that's how I feel. It was a pleasant surprise here today by Jeffrey Lurie. And yeah, I mean, again, thanks. He thanked Chip Kelly for his participation and everything, and his contributions to this Eagles team and everything else. But ultimately, at the end of the day, kind of thanks for nothing, Chip. Sure, there's a glimmer of excitement in the first season, perhaps a glimmer of hope. But as things went on, especially this season, it just, no. He had to go. I didn't think he was going to go, as many of us probably thought Chip Kelly was going to go another year. But it's not the case. Jeffrey Lurie, give him some credit. I give him some credit. He did something that I didn't think he was going to do. And he fired Chip Kelly. Lo and behold. So with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning into this Chip Kelly has been fired edition of the Tyler Werner Show. And that'll pretty much be a wrap of this episode of the Tyler Werner Show. We'll see what Jeffrey Lurie has to say on Wednesday at his press conference, and we'll talk about it right here on the Tyler Werner Show. As, I'm about to say as we always do, but it's rare that we have a Jeffrey Lurie press conference to talk about, especially after a firing of a head coach. So, with that in mind, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll catch up with you here on the Tyler Werner Show in just a few days, right here on the YouTube channel and the Facebook page. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
Okay, Rocco, pretend I'm the girl that you want to ask out on a date.
How about maybe you and I, maybe we go out together, get something to eat, I don't know, maybe laugh a little bit, who knows, I don't know, would you like to maybe, you want me to go out together? What do you think? Would you like to?
You need to make more eye contact and you sound way too nervous.
You want to hear me say it? You want to break me down? All right, I'm afraid. For the first time in my life, I'm afraid.
Having a tough time asking out ladies? You need to see Clubber Lang for a lesson.
Hey, woman. I bet you stay up late every night dreaming you had a real man, don't you? I tell you what, bring your pretty little self over to my apartment tonight, and I'll show you a real man.
Build confidence with the ladies like never before with Clubber Lang's dating services. The most highly recommended in all of the Delaware Valley.
I am ranked number one. That means I'm the best.
The champion of game day catering is the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show, Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs.
We prepare our balls over time, and that's the essence of the preparation.
On top of that, another trademark of Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs is Brady's signature rubbing process.
When I pick balls out, to me, they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect.
What is a concern is the texture of the balls, and again, that's the point that Tom hit on hard.
The champion of all game day catering dishes is Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show. Attention parents, is your under 18-year-old daughter being cyber-stalked by a man who identifies themselves as a grown adult male?
I want to meet you and fool around. Are you up to meeting tonight, hon? I think I would like to shower with you. We can do it in the shower, too.
If so, you need to contact Chris Hansen and Company to bust these online cyber stalkers.
How are you tonight? Why don't you have a seat there and get comfortable for that? I guess you're going to tell me next that this is the very first time you've done something like this.
Chris Hansen and the Dateline crew will take care of it. Contact us, and we will put an end to the cyber stalking that your daughter is experiencing.
Well, there's something you got to know. I am Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on computer predators.
Busted!